Anyone who's been through puberty knows that it's pretty much the worst time in any human being's life. Your brain's all squishy, your body does weird things, you sweat a lot for no reason. There's just fluid everywhere. Some young adult authors try to amend the awfulness of puberty by writing books about it. However, the thing that most of these authors forget is that kids aren't stupid. I mean, just because you're 12 years old and your bridge of nose sweat keeps on making your glasses slide off your face, that doesn't mean you should be expected to read something poorly written. Middle graders are a lot smarter than they're being credited for. However, I'm not going to talk about the lack of intelligence in middle grade literature, which is really just a whole other problem for a whole other day that I could talk about for literally hours. No, I want to talk about something mildly happy. I want to talk about someone who actually helped. I want to talk about an author who opened the door to preteens everywhere, saying, this is normal. This stuff happens, and you can feel awkward and weird all you want, but I will understand. And sometimes it feels like that one author is the only one who ever does. Today, I'm going to talk about Judy Blume. As I'm sure I mentioned in my last video about the Chronicles of Narnia, which was painstakingly long, and I apologize for that, I come from a background of religious ambiguity, which means that my mom was raised Roman Catholic but isn't anymore, and my dad was raised by a Jew Quaker type person and an atheist. So I got all that swirling around in my background. Now, the Judy Blume book that I'm going to talk about, the heroine has a similar background, in that her mom is Jewish and her dad is Catholic. And she's kind of dealing with all of this stuff. You know what, it's just really hard to be like a preteen girl and also have to deal with the concept of divine when your parents have two different things that are going on all the time. So the main character of this book has her own personal dialogue with God, where she'll just talk to God about things. She doesn't expect him to answer back, and she doesn't expect him to, send her signs. She just believes that he's listening. And Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret isn't just a groundbreaker because it talks about two different perspectives on religion and having your own personal dialogue with God. Now, I feel like what most adults forget about puberty is that it's really, really scary. If you try to explain to an 11-year-old girl what her period is when she hasn't gotten it yet, she will probably freak the freak out. Sweetie, we need to talk. About what, Mom? Well, over the next few years, some very uncomfortable things are going to start happening. Like what? Is this like the stuff we talked about in health class? Because I don't really want to talk about it again. It was okay. Yes. Now pretty soon you're probably going to start menstruating. Are you familiar with what that is? Isn't that the thing that girls do where it's like peeing but with blood? Sort of, but instead of just feeling like using the restroom, it kind of feels like a very, very large and muscular bodybuilder is beating you in the stomach with a baseball bat multiple times. Is that why I started bleeding? No, you started bleeding because the inside of your body is molting. I'm scared it's gonna happen in the next couple years. When is it gonna happen? See, that's the really fun part. You don't get to know. It just happens. You're just on your way to math class, and then all of a sudden, whack, baseball bat to the guts. I don't want that to happen. What's it even for? It's your body telling you that you're not pregnant, which will come in handy when you are a grown-up. But I don't want to have kids. Do I even need this stuff inside of me? Oh, sweetie, nobody wants it to happen to them, but sometimes you're just covered in your own blood, and sometimes you're covered in someone else's vomit. It's just the circle of life. It's so scary, and you're expecting it to be like Fire Engine Red, but then it's not. It looks like the lead pipe from a game of Clue. and it freaks you out. And you don't want to talk to your parents about this stuff because, let's face it, you don't really want to talk to your parents about anything. Because although they love you very much and only want what's best for you, sometimes they just say things. And when you get out of surgery, you'll be green. The hospital is closed on Sundays. No one would rob the car. It's too cold outside. We're actually going to drink the medicated shampoo and put the donuts in your hair. Now, I love my parents very much, and they did a great job of explaining stuff to me. Or at least I would have thought that at the time if my brain wasn't all squishy and weird. However, Judy Blume seems to be the only human being in existence ever to make anyone feel better about going through puberty. It's like this. So you going through puberty is kind of like Frodo and Sam approaching Mount Doom. So you're on the slope and you're trying to escape, you've destroyed the ring, the mountain is erupting, all seems lost, and then, all of a sudden, in soars Judy Blume on a giant eagle, coming to your rescue at the very last second. What really makes Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret so absolutely special was not the talking about religion, not the talking about puberty, not even the multiple talks about one's sexuality at a young age. No, that's not what made this remarkable. What made it remarkable is that it was published in 1970. Now, you just don't talk about stuff like that in the 70s. You don't talk about religion, you don't talk about your period, and you certainly don't talk about sex. It just wasn't done. However, Judy Blume did it. It's like how historians will probably dig around my room like 40, 50 years from now and just be really, really shocked. Are we sure this house has been completely preserved from the mid to late 2010s? Yeah, dude, I mean there's Battlefront reboot posters in here. This book appears to have real live homosexuals. They seem to not get a bad rap in this particular time period. Dude, just because your grandmother grew up while the marriage amendment was still happening in this part of the country doesn't mean you have to talk like it. There appear to be multiple homosexuals. Well, good for a person who wrote that book, I guess. Not only does it contain homosexuals, but appears to be extremely well written. Yeah, dude, I mean, we as a society have evolved a lot since then. It's kind of like talking about religion and sexuality in the 1970s. And their homosexuality does not appear to be their defining characteristic. Yeah, 'cause they're like people. But I think I found another. And another. And another. And another. Do you want to take the books home with you?
Yes.
Alright, fine. And if you are interested in reading any of these books with the, and I quote, real live homosexuals, Kaleidoscope, diverse YA science fiction and fantasy, a love story starring my dead best friend, lesbians, ninjas, math, what more could you want? 13, a collection of stories about being at the worst possible age known to man. She made you feel loved with Fangirl. She made you cry during Eleanor and Park. And now, Rainbow Rowell delivers the gaze.